Buongiorno. Welcome to Angela's Kitchen. I'm Angela and this is my kitchen. Today we're going to be making appetizers. They're great for parties. The first recipe we're going to make is peperoni arrostiti, which are roasted peppers. Then we will make mozzarella in carrozza, which is mozzarella in a carriage, is how it is transcribed literally. Then funghi farcite, which are your stuffed mushrooms, which you're going to stuff with clam sauce. Fritto misto, which is a fritter mixture with different vegetables. Today we're going to be using artichokes, broccoli, cauliflower, and zucchini. And then the last will be a simple insalata di pomodoro, which is a tomato salad. Now we'll start with peperoni arrostiti, or our roasted peppers. First, we're going to need 6 bell peppers. Now, if you can get the red bell peppers, they're far superior because they are sweet. Actually, all they are ripened green bell peppers. As you notice here, I took this off the vine this morning. The green has turned to kind of a brownish, which then turns into a beautiful red. However, the green peppers will do as well if you cannot find the red. We roast these in the broiler section on the second rack. So preheat your oven to broil, and then using a small cookie tin, what I like to do, because I really don't like to scrub and scour, I insert little broiler pans, and it'll accommodate 6 peppers very, very nicely. We also will need 1/2 cup of olive oil, 2 tablespoons of fresh basil. However, if you do not have fresh basil, you may use 1 teaspoon of dry basil. We will also use 2 cloves of garlic, which I have slivered. This eliminates the possibility of someone chewing down on a clove of garlic who doesn't especially like it. Salt and pepper to taste. And I also use a can of olives. Those are the California olives. I like the pitted ones so no one breaks a tooth on them. And I like the jumbos, and you can use either a small can or a medium-sized can. This is a medium size of jumbos. Now, our broiler is on and hot. Now, I have taken the peppers and I've already pre-prepared them. So I want to show you exactly what you would do if we were doing this together, which takes about 20 minutes. First of all, cut your stems off of your pepper here. Then you would put them in your little pans here under the broiler, again on the second rack, and make sure that each side gets about 5 minutes. 5 minutes here, and you will find, and I will show you this in a moment, that the skin will blister. Then turn it, and you'll find that about 3/4 of that will be done by that time. Then this way, and already the sides, the ends, have started cooking. So what you do is turn it up that way for a total of 20 minutes, no more than that, because you don't want them to cook completely through. The roasted peppers are in the bag, and what you do is just seal it this way and just set it aside for 15 minutes to allow the peppers to cool and for the skins to completely detach. We then uncover them and place them in some kind of container. Remember, before doing that, however, we removed the stem. Before putting it in the bag, remove the stem. Otherwise, they will continue to cook. Now, what I'm doing is removing the leaves, the seeds. Open your pepper in half, remove your seeds and this little knobby, if it exists, and also any of what you call the webbing or the pith, because that tends to be a little bitter. So we remove that. Actually, when it's cooked, you really don't see much of it, but if you do, remove it. Now, to peel our roast peppers is a simple task. Look at that. Comes off very, very easily. Pulling up and away. And there we have a roast pepper that's absolutely beautiful. do that to the rest of it. Nothing could be easier. Let me take the clean one here to put those that I have. And if a few seeds remain, there's no problem, of course. Any dark spots you would also, of course, remove. And here's the other pepper. There. And the last one here from the second pepper. Now, bear in mind that if some of the skin has not detached itself and remains on the flesh, it really doesn't matter. It's not going to spoil anything, and it's soft. It's chewable, so you don't have to worry about it. But of course, you don't want any of the seared skin. Usually, if some of it is stubborn and remains, it has not been seared. Now, what we do next, as you see with the other 4 peppers, I have already sliced them. This is what we do. Hold them and slice them. That's also very easy to do. There. You have no idea how delicious this is. And this is enough for 6 peppers for 6 people. These were large peppers, of course, and if they're smaller, you might want to add 1 or 2, and they store in the refrigerator for a week, and they're delicious as a side dish with bread and just as a side vegetable. There you are. Okay, now this seems to have a little dark spot, which I will remove. Now, we're going to add our ½ cup of oil. This is olive oil, of course. And toss so that every bit of the pepper is touched by the oil or kissed by the oil. Then we will add 2 tablespoons of basilico. This is basil, which I took from my garden this morning. If you do not have fresh basil, use half again as much. So for 2 tablespoons, you're going to use 1 tablespoon of the dried. Because of course you can imagine if it has dried, it will be about half of the volume. And it'll reconstitute itself in the oil. Again, tossing. The 2 cloves of garlic which have been slivered, I will now add. Mix again. Salt, start out with very little. You can always adjust your seasonings upward. You cannot adjust them downward. Taste after it's all done, see if it's salty enough. A few turns on your pepper mill. Toss. And finally we add our olives. And isn't that a magnificent sight? Now, one thing about roast peppers, you should refrigerate them until they have chilled through and the flavors have mingled. So you can do this the night before you're going to have a party, or you just want this for a holiday appetizer. Now, isn't that beautiful? Ecco, peperoni arrostiti, roast peppers, our first appetizer. Our next appetizer is called mozzarella in carrozza, which means mozzarella in a carriage. What we need for that is a day-old Italian bread, 1 pound of whole milk mozzarella, 3 large eggs at room temperature, 1/2 cup of milk, salt to taste, 1 cup of flour, 3 cups of oil for deep frying, and anchovies. Now, what I'm going to do is make half with anchovies and half without, because I know that some people don't care for anchovies. So you get them in a tin like this. Now, we don't use the crust of the bread, so as you see here is what is left of the loaf that I have cut. Now you say, what did she do with all of that bread? I use the crust and whatever inside of the crumbs adhere to the crust, and in my blender just ground it up to make fresh breadcrumbs, which we're going to use in our stuffed mushrooms today. You don't use dry bread or the commercial brand. All right, now I sliced the bread into 16 slices and then cut them in half, and each will be a little sandwich like so. All right, the first thing we're going to do is to whip our eggs with a wire whisk. Add our milk, almost like French toast. A pinch of salt, and I really mean a pinch. There, that's a pinch. And now we're ready to make our batter. Here and here. What we do is take one little square of bread and put the mozzarella in it, and we're going to make 8 with anchovy and 8 without. All right, first, believe it or not, we lightly coat the little sandwich, the carrozza, with flour. Then we put it into the egg batter. And sometimes you've got to use your fingers. Here you go. And here's another one. And again into the egg batter. Make sure that all sides are coated, so turn it around like so. There. Okay. Now what I have done, you notice some of them have toothpicks and some have not. Those with anchovies have toothpicks, so those of your guests or of your family who do not care for anchovies will have the option to have the pane in carrozza without any anchovies. Now, will you join me at the stove, and we're going to prepare our deep fryer for the pane in carrozza. Of course, if you have an electric fryer, that's fine, but since I don't, I use a deep skillet. This is a 10-inch skillet in which I've placed the 3 cups of olive oil. You can use cooking oil, corn oil as well, or Wesson oil, any that you like. And this has been warming for about 2 minutes, and I'm going to test it with a dry piece of bread. If it turns golden brown quickly, then you know that it's ready for our mozzarella in carrozza, which is also called pane in carrozza. So you take your choice whether you want to say that the bread is in a carriage. You see, it turns a golden color immediately. So I will lower my heat from high to medium high so that they do not burn, and put in my pane in carrozza or mozzarella in carrozza. Now those with the toothpicks, as I said, have the anchovies in them. Those without the toothpicks are going to be the plain. And this is very, very fast, as you see. And as soon as they have browned, take them out and put them on a towel, paper towel, to drain. And then put in your next batch. Don't put too many in because you won't be able to handle them fast enough and they might burn on you. So put in as many as you can handle easily. And again, it needs to be a deep-sided one so that your oil does not splatter over when you add your mozzarella and pane. Should be a nice golden brown. course, I made it difficult, didn't I? Adding the toothpicks, it's not as easy to turn, but it can be done. Of course, if you make yours only with mozzarella or only with anchovies, then you won't have that problem. Now these are the plain with just the mozzarella. The outside is like a French toast, and it's really delicious. Now these don't have toothpicks. The toothpicks really do not serve any purpose except to identify the anchovies, because as soon as the mozzarella starts melting, why, the whole thing comes together. Now this one came apart. There you go. Be careful not to burn yourself. And again, only put in as many as you can handle comfortably. See, now they're together. Look underneath to see that they are not too golden. Perfect. Needs a little more time. It's all right. You see how fast that is? And that with your peppers and olives, and you can imagine what beautiful trays you would have for your appetizers. And we're finished. Go. Mozzarella in carrozza or mozzarella in a carriage. These little tidbits originated in Naples, Italy. Now remember, these were put on a paper towel to absorb the oil, the excess oil. These have now been placed in a warm platter, and they should be, just like French fries, for example, they should be served warm. Our next appetizer is called fritto misto. We're going to do it in two sections because the batters are a little different. First, we're going to do artichokes and cauliflower. If you can find the frozen artichokes in the little 10-ounce packet, they're preferable. Since I could not find them, I am using the whole artichoke heart that you find canned in your gourmet section. Now this is what they look like, but we're cutting them in half. So these are 12 artichokes cut in half, giving us 24 sections. This is frozen cauliflower that I have parboiled according to the directions on the box. However, you could also use your fresh broccoli. But in the reason for expediency, I decided that perhaps coming home from work, you're not going to have time to do that, so your frozen cauliflower is excellent. Instead of giving it the 5 minutes, give it 4 minutes, just enough to separate the little florets. Do not overcook, and you can salt them. We will then need 3 eggs. These are 3 large eggs at room temperature, 2 tablespoons of water, which I'm going to put into the eggs, and this is about 3 cups of Italian flavored crumbs with the cheese and with the parsley, which of course you can also get in your supermarket. Into the eggs I'll put a pinch of salt. Now I'm not adding salt to the canned artichokes because there is salt already. However, after the cooking time I did add salt to the cauliflower. All right, what we do now is whip up the 3 large eggs with the 2 tablespoons of water. We will need, if you look over here, a 12-inch skillet, because you want to be able to cook as many as possible together so that if you're in a hurry, it's not going to take as long. However, if you want to do fewer, of course, your skillet would be smaller. To fry them, we will need 1 1/2 cups of oil. Cooking oil is fine. And for garnish, I have 1 lemon, which I have cut in slices and then cut again in half. All right, I think I have it all mixed. There. What we do then is to take our artichoke, dip it in the egg, then in the breadcrumbs, and we'll do that with each one of them as well as with the cauliflower. All right, now we're doing the same thing with the cauliflower. We're dipping it into the egg and then into the Italian flavored dry breadcrumbs. Same thing. There. Them on this side. Because you can identify them by their shape too once they're cooked, and put them in separate little sections so that your guests, family, whatever, can choose the hors d'oeuvres that they prefer. All right, let's see if our oil is hot enough. We'll test it again with a piece of bread. And it's sizzling nicely. It seems to be ready. What I will do then is turn it down to between medium and medium high. Discard the bread. And let's put in the cauliflower to start. And I'm going to use a slotted spoon because this would be just too much for the delicate cauliflower. It doesn't need any time. All you want it to do is to get golden brown. This would squeeze it like so. And put it into a platter with paper towels to absorb some of the oil. So you see, it couldn't have absorbed very much oil. It hasn't been in there very long at all. These out. Now you can put in as many as you feel you can handle without forgetting one and having it burn. Now as I turned them, I could have these started on the one side. So now these are ready. Put them here so you can see them. Turn them again to see if they're nicely golden on that side, which they are. Continuing with our fritto misto, now we're going to prepare a batter for little broccoli florets. Now I have chosen the frozen broccoli for the same reason. I just give it 4 minutes, that's all, with a little bit of salt. This is about 24 slices, about 2 small to medium-sized zucchini, about this size, and you'll get 24 slices, which is cut rather thickly, not too thinly. Salt and pepper to taste. 3 eggs, 2 tablespoons of water, 4 tablespoons of, this is Parmesan cheese, 2 cups of flour, and 1.5 cups of cooking oil for sautéing. First, we're going to take our eggs and add our water and whip them. We will use again our Teflon-lined 12-inch skillet to prepare these. Now you can add the salt either to your vegetables or, now I have added salt to the broccoli during the parboiling. So I'll add a pinch of salt and several turns on the pepper mill. The water has been added. You mix the eggs so that you don't see any white or yellow. That doesn't take very long. It does not have to be creamy. Then we add our 4 tablespoons of Parmesan cheese and mix that nicely. Now I'm going to transfer this to this larger plate because I can mix more at one time. It's faster, obviously. Starting with the little broccoli florets, first we put them in flour, believe it or not, so that it will absorb more of the egg, just as we did with the mozzarella in carrozza. Okay, take several here. I'm going to do the same thing with the rest of them. Wipe off any excess. Now you could do this with fresh broccoli as well, of course. It'll take a little longer for you to parboil and to clean. There we go. All right, add some salt to your zucchini. As you know, they are very bland and they do require a little bit of seasoning. And some pepper. Put some on these too. There. And we'll do the same thing. You see? Flour on each side. Shake off the excess. As I said, there are about 24 slices here. So you can make as many or as few as you like, obviously. Okay, let me turn them over. Can you see that? Can you see what they look like? And transfer them to the baking dish. And I'm going to do that with the rest of them. I put the 1½ cups of cooking oil into our 12-inch skillet, and I'm going to test it now since it started becoming aromatic and bubbling a little.